Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going in Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found. And, of course, taped live at the Twitch and on the YouTube, twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. We opened the show today with some awful news. Very tragic news. Yesterday, Tony Khan, I believe, was the first person to tweet this out. Dave Meltzer followed up with a tweet of his own about the passing of Jay Briscoe, current Ring of Honor tag champion. Obviously, you know, a legend when it comes to tag team wrestling with his brother Mark. He's a former Ring of Honor world champion, former Impact tag champion. I mean, he pretty much won every IWGP tag champion. Pretty much won titles everywhere except for WWE. They never did a stint in WWE. But more details on this came out earlier today. It was a car accident where I believe it was this Delaware State Police released a statement indicating that it was his truck and another truck. The other truck veered over into his lane, and so it was a head-on collision. Even more tragic than his passing, or to add to the tragedy, I should say, two of his daughters, aged 9 and 12, were in the truck with him. They both survived. However, they both came out obviously with pretty nasty injuries, one of which is going into has gone into surgery for a pretty nasty back injury, apparently. So, I mean, this is just, it's, obviously unexpected, just absolutely tragic. We've seen the tributes coming out from all across the wrestling world, and unanimously, just a lot of really lovely things saying, a lot of lovely things being said about Jay Briscoe, as a family man, as a wrestler, as a person, as a human being. A lot of sad people today over the passing of Jay Briscoe, Larson. Yeah.
I mean, Jay and Mark in the wrestling business, whether you had watched Ring of Honor or not, they had a reputation that preceded them in that. I could speak for when we first started learning of Ring of Honor and having some interest in starting to watch their product. You know, we absolutely knew who the Briscoes were without seeing their stuff. And then once we got introduced to them, they were performers that you could not take your eyes off of. Magnificent in-ring performers, great promos. Jay had a way of being both, and I've seen this a lot on Twitter, and this is something I think you and I have talked about in the past, where he could be simultaneously absolutely hilarious and utterly frightening. And everything about their presentation came off as 1,000% legit. Everything. Just a marvelous performer in the ring. And as you mentioned, apparently, seemingly based on all the comments of friends and acquaintances and people that have met the Briscoes along their own wrestling journeys, speak to him about as highly as one can. A dedicated family man, someone who seemingly went out of their way on a regular basis to make people feel welcome and respected inside the locker room. Someone who was willing to help others. Someone who made a lot of friends in this business, and it's just incredibly sad to hear of his passing. And our thoughts go out to his family, his wife, and hopefully his two daughters can recover from the injuries they sustained in this accident. And it's awful. It's just incredibly sad.
It is, and what you said is absolutely true. You know, when you speak about pro wrestling and just sort of inherently what it is a form of entertainment. There's an element of it that enhances the product, and you can, have silly debates over the general idea of how real it can be presented. Like you said, the word legit comes to mind when you think of the Briscoes, because whether it's one of their promos where Jay with his piercing eyes, that dude had a top 3 face in pro wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, you could not look away from the screen when he is delivering a promo. As you said, simultaneously could be hilarious and absolutely horror movie terrifying in his portrayal of his character. And to see, to witness any of his promos, and there's like a million of them on YouTube, is the closest thing to, I think these days, somebody who makes you feel like it's real.
Yeah.
And then you translate that to the ring as well. I mean, you could look at their magnificent trilogy just this past year with FTR, and the reason, and the dog collar match was just, oh my God. It's like you're taken back to like, the late 1970s down there in Texas.
Yeah.
When it was sort of as close as you're going to get to real, where it's just a bunch of big hosses, making each other bleed and whatnot. I mean, obviously the Briscoes weren't hosses, but like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They made it seem real, which oftentimes in wrestling can be such a thrilling experience to be able to lose yourself in the idea that, hey, what they're doing, and this is a real fight, truly a transcendent tag team, the Briscoes. Obviously obviously a former Ring of Honor world champion as well. I mean, they've won all sorts of titles. I can list them off, but it'd probably take all day. So I was just looking at some of the reactions here to some of the wrestlers. Adam Cole, for example, of course, Briscoe, I believe him and Cole had a feud going back a while ago for the Ring of Honor world title. Cole said, "I don't know what my life would be like without Jay Briscoe in it, and I don't want to know. You believed in me, you helped me, you treated me like family. There will never be another like you. I'm so grateful to have known a man like you. I love you, Jay." Triple H said, "An incredible performer who created a deep connection with wrestling fans across the globe. My condolences to the friends and family." Seth Rollins, who obviously had a long history with the Briscoes, said, "Being in the ring with Jay Briscoe got me my first Ring of Honor contract. He and Mark, being so selfless, helped Jimmy and I find our footing as Age of the Fall. Without him, I don't know if Tyler Black could have ever been." Seth Rollins. Big E said, "We certainly studied and borrowed from the Briscoe brothers. They have left an indelible mark on tag team wrestling. I was blown away by the trilogy with FTR. My deepest condolences."
Sami Zayn says, "I don't have the words right now to properly convey my sorrow. I love Jay and Mark Briscoe, always have. I wouldn't be here without them. I'm very lucky to have shared the ring and shared so many laughs with Jay Briscoe, and I'm so sad to know neither will happen again. Rest in peace, my friend."
Kyle O'Reilly said, "Jay Briscoe was the real deal. I was always amazed how someone could be so intimidating one moment and then so warm and affable the next. He gave so much to the business and to his family, and I'm forever grateful for having known him. Strength and love to Mark and his family." I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. I mean, you just do a quick Twitter search of Jay Briscoe and you just see wrestler after wrestler, personality after personality. Our friend Brian Zane was lucky enough to get to work with him a little bit while he did some Ring of Honor stuff, and he said really great things about him.
Yep.
And especially in an industry with some awfully complex and sometimes controversial figures, Jay Briscoe really seemed to grow as a human being over the years, for one thing, which is incredibly rare. To grow to that degree, and to make himself a better person over the years, and to elicit this response from the wrestling community is pretty special. It really is.
It is. It really is. It is.
So yeah, like you said, obviously I echo the sentiments. Our hearts and thoughts go out to his family, and especially to the kids right now who are going to be going through some tough times. So yeah, that's a tragic situation.
It is. It really is.
Before we move on with the show, wanted to mention this right now on our Patreon, patreon.com/Stephen Larson. We have a retro review. You guys wanted retro reviews to come back, so we did the very first episode of Monday Nitro, WCW. It's a really fun review. We're going to be putting it up on the main channel within a couple weeks. But right now, if you're interested in that, $5 and up, patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Let's talk about this. Nick Khan talked to Bill Simmons on his podcast about Vince's return, the WWE sale. I wouldn't necessarily call this a shoot because so much of this is just, through the lens of Nick Khan, corporate Nick Khan.
Yes.
But he had some interesting things to address,
He did.
So speaking about Vince returning to the company, Nick Khan, who's still the CEO, correct? Isn't he still the CEO?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he's still CEO. Yeah.
Yeah. These transcripts come to you via Wrestling Observer. He said this about Vince's return. When you're on the inside, you see things that may be coming. So he's like Apollo Crews, Nick Khan. It's in his diary.
Yes. He's
Vince is
in the
back
diner. Yes.
Anyway, sorry. He says, my thought was that there's only one boss in the company, and that ain't me. I think it was always my point of view, Stephanie's point of view, he would come back. The way he played it to me was smart in that he went away for 5-6 months, which people, meaning the audience, seems to like when somebody does that. This isn't the same, Nick.
This isn't booking someone's return from injury.
It's not. He went away for a very good reason.
Yes.
He was exposed as a big piece of shit.
Yeah.
Anyways, getting back to the comments here, or to the quotes here. People seem to like when somebody does that, and he came back and he took back control back of his company as a company shareholder. So it is the public's authority, and he used it. So it is the public's company as a publicly traded company, but with that, the controlling share gave him a lot of authority, and he used it. And I applaud him for doing so. When he stepped down, anyone who believed that was permanent didn't know him. That was never going to happen. But I'm appreciative of the fact that he gave it 5-6 months, let the dust settle a bit, then came back in the way that he's come back. That's so fucked up. That's so disingenuous. I like that he came back, let the dust settle on the allegations of sexual assault, harassment, abuse. Oh yeah, I'm glad that he did it this way.
Here's something else, because he was asked about more revelations coming out about Vince. I didn't put this in the notes, but I have the Wrestling Observer quotes, the transcriptions from Wrestling Observer in front of me, so I'll read this. This is what Khan had to say about the possibility of more revelations coming to light. He says, quote, it feels like whatever happened and is out there. People know I've always found him to be a very honest broker with this stuff.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. So even when the process started last summer, there was nothing that he hid. There was nothing that he covered up. I think he was very honest about it, and I appreciated that. And I think a lot of other folks do, too.
I don't know who those other folks are. Clearly,
so apparently, then I guess also Simmons brought up Rita Chatterton.
Yeah.
And this is what Nick Khan had to say. I think everyone's just plowing ahead because in all of these businesses, there's never a clear path. There's always some encumbrance, something in the way, some hurdle in the way that you have to get around or get through. So I see that like I would any other item like that.
That's horrific. That is absolutely horrific. Why are you even going to go on this show if you're going to call a sexual assault allegation with corroboration a hindrance to going forward in your business? Good Lord.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah. Something I was like, oh my gosh.
Not that you can take any of this with any ounce of fucking honesty. But when asked about Vince returning to pursue a sale of the WWE, he said this. In this process, he's there to oversee it. It's his controlling share. I'm involved in it. Triple H is involved in it. The board is involved in it. We're going to see how it plays out. It should not be a lengthy process. I think he's ready. I can't describe it as anything more than that after the last 5 months. Keep in mind, you, talking to Bill Simmons, engage in empire building. You're still engaged in empire building. At a certain point, it's like, how much of this empire am I going to build? We continue to build it. He continued to build it until he stepped down 5 months ago. And looking at a world of consolidation, the standalone enterprise that owns 99% of its intellectual property with the media rights coming up in October of 2024, which means the process starts in a few months on that. To certainly go lock in a bunch of long-term deals and then to try to sell to everybody doesn't make sense. The timing is now. That's the goal. Unless one of the media conglomerates ends up buying it directly, then they certainly wouldn't want it encumbered by any long-term media rights deals elsewhere. When he's using the term strategic alternatives, it's basically we're looking at everything. If he said, I'm looking to sell the company, what does that mean? A piece of it? All of it? Do you merge the company? Do you buy another company instead of selling? Do you sell the company outright? A lot of it will come down to price, but I don't think all of it. It's what's the best value for the shareholder? What's the best value for Vince after the shareholder? So the stock after the announcement is flying high. How much more is somebody going to offer on that? That makes it a transaction. That he wants to do. He also shot down rumors of WWE reaching a deal to sell the company to Saudi Arabia, saying 100% fake, 100% made up, saying there was an imminent transaction. Totally false. It was absurd. It was nuts. He's like the fucking fact or fiction meme. It's false. Made it up. It was made up by writers. That person subsequently took down that tweet because what I'm saying was 100% false. It was 100% false. Of course, looking at this quote right here, 100% made up, saying there was an imminent transaction. Like, there can still be an offer out there that in principle Vince is like, yeah, we're going to do this shit, but we got to make sure nobody else is going to match that anywhere close to it. So you can debunk stuff without actually debunking stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot here. To say the least.
None of it is going to be. So what's he going to do? Whether, asked about Rita Chatterton, what's he going to say? Yeah, Vince the real piece of shit for that one. You know what I mean? Like, it's just this guy is a Nick Khan.
I understand him as the CEO of a company that Vince still runs, trying to take a diplomatic approach, but describing it as an encumbrance. I think is being it goes more than being diplomatic, and taking too much of. I understand Vince is his boss, but at the same time, it's like you're completely minimizing what happened to her.
Oh, it doesn't matter though, because you know why? Because Nick Khan is a fucking robot. Because in order to be this kind of person that somebody brings in order to get, because the price tag for him to get this deal done is massive. So a guy like this, the only person that can, they're just these people. They're fucking robots. Nick Khan's not a real person. He's a fucking robot. To be able to say something like that the Rita Chatterton thing is a hindrance to us doing business, because technically from his perspective, it is. Anything is. If it came out that Vince murdered a person, well, that's going to get in the way of us doing business, because he's not a real person. He's a robot. That's what these people are, man.
I understand all that. I understand.
So it's like, yeah, is there a diplomatic way of saying it? Sure. For him, no, because this is a hindrance. Anything that gets in the way of him cashing out and making his money, and Vince cashing out and making his money, anything that is getting in the way of that is a hindrance.
Yeah, I understand that from I understand that from their perspective. I get that. It's based on my experience, kind of reading stuff stated like that. It's very rare that people are that kind of blunt about it, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like shockingly blunt about it.
Yeah, like that, being that cold-hearted about it. Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm really saying, is that it's one thing to try to be diplomatic. It's one thing even to be maybe somewhat heartless or cold-hearted or try to distance yourself from that, but to be so bluntly dismissive. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
And to not even try to recognize the human element in all this, and how lives were altered and changed, and people were hurt due to Vince's actions, and just to say, it kind of gets in the way of the business we're doing. I mean, it's so dismissive.
It's just, it's disgusting.
It is disgusting,
right? And that's what I'm like. The only people who can approach, who can have the thought process to go in there and say, this is a hindrance. It's just, they're not, it's use the term person loosely here. It's disgusting. It's absolutely. Why do the podcast? Why even do it if you're going to go out there and act like you're like, there is no, like what you said, simply to be dismissive. It's just, it's that's just, I think that's simply just it's American Psycho. It's just like the state of corporate America, man. And the funny thing is, you probably, the only reason we're really getting this is because it's WWE, and it's a very public company, and it's a very interesting company given the history of WWE. But there's a million Nick Khans out there, if people gave a shit about some weird tech company that nobody really cares about, if people gave a shit about that kind of stuff, they grab the same kind of person, put him on a podcast if anybody gave a damn, and they'd say the exact same stuff. It's just a certain type of person is used to facilitate this kind of stuff. And this is the kind of shit that you get. Dismissive, like you said, dismissive of actual people, because it's not that thing. He can go to sleep and sleep fine in his robotic Borg cove to regenerate. I don't know, man. It's just disgusting. It's like, I don't mean to get too heated or whatever, but it's just disgusting.
No, I get it. That's kind of the reason I brought it up, because I was reading these quotes and I was like, really?
Really?
This is how you phrase it?
Yeah. Maggie says he's a lizard person. I've known lizards. I've met lizards. They seem like decent animals. Let's not besmirch lizards now, Maggie. Come on. I'm just joking. Yeah, like V. Were there any redeemable V aliens? You were a V fan, weren't you?
Yeah, there were some that helped the resistance out. Yeah. Yeah.
We can't even see their lizard. We can't even say he's a lizard person. Yeah, Lizard Steve. That's right, Lizard Steve. Brian Cage's lizard. Seemed lovely. Oh boy, oh boy. Anyways, that was good that was good. Anyways, Larson, you want to go ahead and pay some bills here real quick?
Let's do it.
What do we got today?
Got a word here from BetterHelp.
BetterHelp it is. All right, great.
All right. Let's take a quick break here, friendos. This episode of Going in Raw is sponsored by BetterHelp. Steve, it took me quite a while to find out what I'm like when I'm at my best. There's a few years in my 20s where I was feeling really overwhelmed by life and started dealing with severe anxiety. And it got to the point where I realized that I needed to go to therapy. And working with the therapist helped me find better ways to cope with my anxiety, empowered me to be more prepared for whatever life throws my way, and set me on a path, hopefully, I hope, put me on a path becoming a better Larson.
Oh, man, I think you're there, dude. And if you were thinking about giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, flexible, affordable, and completely online. All you got to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get you matched up with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge.
If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit BetterHelp.com/raw today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw.
Maggie says, I got an hour lecture yesterday about reptilian people and how they're actually running the shit behind the scenes. I apologize if I struck a chord. No, man. No, you're good. I get your point. Oh, man. Oh, man. Anyways, we had an NXT yesterday.
I'll say this. Didn't feel like... Because some episodes of NXT, like there's good. Like any episode of NXT, there's good, there's bad. But I think what really separates NXT is there's the episodes that feel like a chore to get through.
Yeah.
And there's episodes that move at a brisk enough pace without trying to jam too much stuff in that they don't feel like a chore to get through. This one didn't necessarily feel like a chore to get through.
No, I agree. I actually watched it live. I was doing some work and doing some editing, and I watched it live. And while I'm not going to say it necessarily like breezed by, it didn't feel like a slog or anything. It moved at a good pace. It's funny how NXT can be like, I could be so hot or cold on it. And yesterday I watched it. I was like, oh, it was fun. Like the opening match was really fun. Carmelo and Trick versus Apollo and Axiom. Honestly, my main disappointment yesterday, number one, NXT, they do have some younger, I don't want to say green, but some younger talent that, have been recent additions to TV, like Sol Ruka and Javier Barnell. Sorry. I think they're going to be big. I really do. You look at what Sol Ruka brings to the table in terms of like her athleticism and what she can do. And, you always like to find, it's always fun when you have people who aren't coming from indie wrestling, come in from, the world of athletics, some sports, and they find ways to be creative in the ring, you know? And you see that with Sol Ruka. And And then I think Javier, I think his charisma, I think he's going to go far. I really do. And then you have like plot developments, like, you know, Stax getting to become the underboss from Tony D'Angelo. We got to see his journey.
We actually see some warmth from Tony D'Angelo.
I know, wasn't it kind of? And there was a little shout out to Two Dimes.
Yeah,
you know,
they did at the bridge where they tossed 2 dimes in the river. Yeah.
I'll be honest, man. I was vibing with NXT last night. I thought it was pretty decent. I thought there was some good stuff.
There was some good stuff. There was also some disappointments. By that, I'm talking about these revamped themes they got for Gallas and Tyler Bate.
Yeah, this is so. Before you start, I'm just going to say this. This is going to be a very specifically Steven Larson gripe.
Yes,
that's what this is going to be.
Great Cultaholic.
Thank you, Cultaholic. Thank you so much. Given that we were such big fans of NXT UK, we would watch it pretty religiously every week. So please go ahead now.
So, at least they didn't go completely in another direction.
Yeah,
so what
true.
we got, so Gallas' theme especially is beloved here at Going in Raw.
It is. It's so
absolutely
good.
Beloved. You can find it on Spotify. It's a track they licensed. I can't remember who produced it initially.
I could find it really quick while you continue.
So it's a fantastic song. It fit them so well.
Dominic Schwarzer's "Beat Me" is the actual.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's fantastic. It's a great song. Got that distorted bass in there. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So they kept a lot of the same elements. Like if you're not really paying attention, you're like, oh, this could very well be the same song.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's close. It's close enough that it could fool you if you're not really paying attention. But if you are paying attention, it's like, well, where's my Gallas theme?
I was trying because commentary was talking over their entrance, and I was like, shut up. I'm trying to. Is this? That's different. It's kind of the same, but it's different.
It is. It takes a lot of the same elements, but it's just not the same.
Yeah, same with Tyler Bate. Tyler Bate came out, and it was like, what is this? No, that's not it.
So, I mean, like Tyler Bates was like kind of like the Sledgehammer.
Yeah.
And so if you consider his initial theme the Sledgehammer ripoff, now you have a ripoff of the Sledgehammer ripoff.
It's like multiplicity. It's a clone of a clone.
It's like when you start copying things enough times, the quality starts to degrade. Yes.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
So, grand scheme of things, not a huge deal. They're close enough, I guess, that at a certain point, we'll accept them as the official themes now. Again, if it was like a massive departure for especially Gallas, a massive departure, I'd be like, what the heck?
Yeah,
they essentially did to Gallas's theme what WCW did to spells like Teen Spirit for DDP's theme.
Right, exactly.
Changed it just slightly.
Yeah, it's like, what is that? Gallus is Tron in that theme. They're all slow motion, just doing this at green light.
Yeah, you get the three-way handshake up there.
Big doom, 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 doom.
Yep.
It just worked.
Distorted bass in there. Yeah,
it was like, oh, these guys are badasses.
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing
those
is
elements are still there.
Yeah,
it's just not the same.
The song itself, because it was licensed, will remain on Spotify. I hope so. That's cool. You can still listen to it if you really want.
If you really want to, whenever Gallas starts to make their entrance on NXT, you can cue that song up, play it,
mute your shit, and then play
there.
that, and it'll be like cool. And you have to listen to Vic Joseph. Blah 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 blah. We have 602.
I like Vic and Vic. And
I like Vic and
great.
Booker T. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but while Gallas' theme is speaking, I don't care if it's Gorilla Monsoon or whoever. I just want them to stop talking and just let me listen to some Dominic Schwarzer. We have 607 people watching right now on the YouTube. Do us a huge favor. Use your one like of the day on this video. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button and the notify bell so you always get your new Going in Raw content. If you click join and become a channel member, you can watch right now our WCW Nitro, the very first episode of Nitro. We did a review on it last week. This week, our bonus episode, Overrun, is going down on Friday instead of Thursday, so we don't have to jam everything. Regular show, bonus show, Smash Zone. So that's going to be on Fridays from now on. And then, that's that. So if you want to watch that, you can either become a patron, $5 up, on patreon.com/Steven Larson, or click join, become a channel member. We'll give you a shout out. You get your little name here on the little the ticker that we have. So you can check that out as well. NXT started like I said, with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams versus Axiom and Apollo Crews. I did appreciate Trick Williams's mocking or homage tribute to Axiom's entrance. He had the mask on and he did the thing where he goes one side, another side, and then he took off the mask and threw it down and stomped on it.
They were laughing. Yeah, it was pretty great. This is a really fun match, as you mentioned. They gave it time. A lot of fun. In the end, somewhat surprisingly, Apollo Crews gets the pin on Carmelo Hayes here. So Axiom hits Trick with a golden ratio, that kick. He uses it as his finisher off the apron. Carmelo's up top going for his finish. Crews catches him. Carmelo tries to roll up Crews, but instead Apollo counters with the pin combo of his own to get the win.
Yep. Yeah, something tells me Carmelo might be debuting at the Rumble. That would
pretty neat.
Not surprise me. That would be great. After that, Tony D and Stax are walking down that bridge that they tossed 2 dimes off of. Tony says, this bridge represents beginnings and ends. You've grown over the last year, and while the Dijak thing didn't end the way we wanted to, and Stax is like, hey, boss, I'm sorry about that. I'll do anything for you, Tony. But if this is the end, I'm loyal till the end. I'm like, oh man, you're gonna be okay getting thrown off the bridge for this guy.
He literally walks to like the railing of the bridge with his back to Tony, just waiting for Tony to chuck him off.
I'm like, what did Tony do for you? Is Tony taking care of Stax's family or something? Like, what is happening that this guy is so willing to be thrown over by who would be a Dark Elevation guy if he was in AEW? Anyways, so he says, do what you got to do. And Tony, hems and haws. He's like, you know what? Your days of being a soldier are over. It's time you become the underboss. I thought he was going to make him a made man, but I think underboss is even better than that.
Yeah, I think so.
So, but then now they don't have any soldiers because
they need some soldiers though.
It's just like a top guy and his lieutenant, his underboss.
Yeah.
But then they need people now, I guess.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. Then we got Tiffany. What?
And he gave him a jacket.
He did. He says this tattoo is the family crest, but it was that tattoo was like embroidered or something and then put on the jacket. Yeah.
Look very hastily sort of sewn onto the back of this jacket.
Yeah.
So now Stax just needs to go on a side mission of trying to get this thing firmly placed.
Yeah. Or does he have to get that tattoo put on him?
Yeah, or is it like is a
It's like take this to your local tattoo artist and get this on your back.
Well, is a jacket decoration is it also known as a tattoo in some circles?
That's a good question.
Because he said this tattoo, and I'm like, that's not a tattoo.
Yeah,
that's like an iron-on. It's an iron-on. It's a hastily ironed-on, generic eagle with a couple of flags.
Yeah,
placed on a jacket, on a pleather jacket. So I don't know.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Lots of questions in the segment.
A lot of questions. Yeah. Then we got Tiffany Stratton interview. She's like, I didn't ask for this interview. You did, Mackenzie. Get on with it. And Mackenzie says, well, here, let's go to this footage. And Tiffany was locked out of her locker room, so she starts banging on the door. Indy Hartwell opens it.
Mm-hmm.
And Indy says, well, this isn't your locker room anymore. You want to call us pigs? Go dress somewhere else.
Wow.
It slams the door in Tiffany's face. And Tiffany says, oh, that footage is alarming. Did you see what Indy was wearing? She could fit her whole wardrobe in a garbage bag. Interesting container for...
Yeah. At home, Johnny Ace was like doing the Leo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
I know about garbage cans, garbage bags. I like how Indy took the nameplate off the locker room and just threw it. Like that's all it takes.
And then put women's locker room on the door instead.
Right.
So Tiffany continues, I guess I'm going to have to show them that there's only one superstar in the women's division, and that's me.
Yeah. After that, we had a Toxic Attraction promo. JC says, we told you so. Gigi's like, at the end of the night, we said we'd be announced as the winners of the Battle Royale last week. And then JC says, the best part was seeing all of your collectives' minds explodes when it was down to me and Gigi. So this is it. Toxic Attraction is done. And then Gigi says, history was unfolding before your very eyes. The crowd was chanting for JC and Gigi, and for a hot second, JC tried to eliminate me. And then JC's like, yeah, for a hot second, Gigi tried to eliminate me. He says, but we're a team, and we even fell to the floor together. And Gigi says, there is no elephant in the room. We're going to do what needs to be done. And the Toxic Attraction tour is in full effect. JC says, Roxanne's going to regret the day she became champ because at Vengeance Day, the only thing you're going to hear is, and new. And then she's interrupted by Lyra Valkyria.
They got rid of the CG rain, which is a great idea.
No,
it wasn't there for this. It wasn't there for
cloud and the rain.
Oh,
I want
bad.
it all, man.
It was so bad. It was so bad. So Lyra says, well, if it weren't for Cora, I'd be flying towards Vengeance Day while the two of you would be sitting at home blaming each other, but I will get my opportunity. And JC says, Lyra, you're new. I get it. You dropped from the sky, but me and Gigi have been champs longer than you've had your wings. And Gigi says, good job trying to get some of that Toxic Attraction rub. Now get to the back of the line. And Lyra says, all I see is two women who know they can't beat Roxanne by themselves. They have to do it together. So the Toxic Attraction attacks Lyra Valkyria. And Roxanne Perez runs out to the ring to make the save.
Mm-hmm. After that, the Creeds are yelling at each other. That's kind of all that's all Diamond Mine is turned into.
I'm fighting Jinder. No, I'm fighting Jinder.
I'm fighting Jinder. No, man, he came out here and attacked me. No, I'm going to do it. And so Ivy walks in, and she's like, shut up. It's like, what happened to the Creeds who were motivated no matter what? You guys were locked in. You were the best with the titles to prove it. She says, and now you're after revenge? Indus has global accolades, and Jinder's a former champ. I knew that Julius was going to lose to Jinder, and you guys were going to lose a tag match. Now grow a set. Get back to what the Creeds are all about. And then she leaves, and Brutus says, she's got a good point. Yeah.
And Julius just kind of goes,
He's like, I just tune out now. She just yells at us a lot about what we're supposed to do, so I just stop listening. And Julius is like, oh, I want to do that.
Then we got Stevie Turner doing a reaction video to last week's Battle Royal.
So this is how bad this was. Lacey came in during the segment. I was watching her. Oh, I know. When the family walks in on something, it's so embarrassing. It's like worse than, if I get caught with pornography on my screen here. I'm watching this shit. Lacey comes in, or I think she's already in here. She's bugging me about some jewelry stuff. But this time I didn't try to hide her from it. I was like, hey, Lacey, look at this crap. I said, she's supposed to be like a Twitch streamer, but she doesn't really have a Twitch stream, and she's just reviewing an old match. And Lacey watched for a second, and it's like, God bless Stevie Turner. The acting is so bad. I think probably because how are you supposed to say this dialogue? Because the dialogue is horrible.
Awful.
And I don't think anybody, unless it was some form of irony, like if you have Von Wagner say this stuff to make it bad. But this dialogue is so atrocious. It is so bad. I'm glad you did. I'm kind of actually sad you didn't write it down because it's so bad. To give an example of it, but it was just yeah. And then she was like, she said something like, God, this is trash, and then stormed out. So
yeah, it wasn't good. Next we got Alba Fire versus Sol Ruka. This was a fun bout down towards the finish. Alba hits a super kick, and she's hitting Ruka with a bunch of shots in the corner, and then she notices that Isla Dawn is standing on that kind of platform they have in one corner of the arena. Yeah. And that distracts her for a moment. She turns around, and Sol hits her awesome finisher to get the win. So that's a pretty huge win for Sol Ruka here.
No, yeah, it's awesome. That is a big win for her. I'm curious how they're going to start approaching more promo-y stuff. I know we had a backstage segment last week. Honestly, I'm glad that they didn't do old school Sandman Surfer promos where it's some Dick Dale type music and her in front of a green screen doing this.
Yeah.
That kind of shit. I'm glad they haven't done that, and I hope they just sort of let her be her. Because I feel like somebody who might have an understated personality but can do crazy good shit in the ring, that might be more appealing than somebody who can do really cool stuff in the ring but then has a real fake disingenuine personality because that's what they're trying to force on her.
Yeah, but that kind of feels like NXT's MO right now is we need huge gimmicky characters and large personalities, whether these large personalities these characters have actually fit the performers that are performing these characters, Which is
why I hope they don't do that.
Yeah,
because they have a history of that, yeah.
We just saw the Stevie Turner thing,
You're exactly right. And that's why I'm like, man, I would not be surprised if next week it's green screen with her. Hey, whenever I'm hanging 10, blah, 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 you know. Time to hang 10 to the ring.
Yeah, there we go.
What are other surfing terms?
I don't know, man.
When I'm waxing up my board.
There you go. Going to ride the wave for another victory.
When I'm robbing banks with Patrick Swayze. That's the best surfing movie of all time, man. Point Break. I'm sure there's other better ones, but that's the one I like.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. After that, we have a Dijak promo. So it's man. It's like he's in a dark room. There's like smoke or fog, and then got the single spotlight over him.
Dude's hotboxing.
Yeah, hey, seems like it.
Hard Justice, high as fuck right
beefing
now.
It up after all those all that Arby's in there.
Hey, you know what? I just got to remind the people. We Hard Justice was on thin ice because we thought we'd have to get rid of the emote. But over the past couple weeks, he sort of redeemed himself as cheesy 80s vigilante with an oddly black and white entrance.
Yeah.
I thought this promo was actually pretty good. He seemed all in on what he was doing.
Yes.
He says, Tony D. And what is this? Tony D and his
good friend. Sorry.
Oh, Tony D and his good friend learned the hard way. Because he was even a bit more bricked up in this. Like he was a bit more energetic in this.
Yeah, he was.
Learned the hard way what hard justice really means. Next up was Wes Lee. I didn't come back to make friends. I came back to collect punitive damages. Wes, the reward for beating you will be me having championship gold. You have no shot of walking out of Charlotte, North American champ. For Lee, it won't be Vengeance Day. That's right. It'll be Judgment Day. Not to be confused with the Judgment Day, the faction there in Raw. No, this is my own Judgment Day. Hard Justice Judgment Day.
Or the 90s movie that melded hip-hop and independent rock.
Yeah. Oh, man. But, yeah, I mean, look, if you're a channel member on our YouTube channel, you get access to the Hard Justice emotes. So whenever we talk about Dijak here on the show on NXT, just load them up.
Yep.
That's right.
Man, that Judgment Day soundtrack.
After Vengeance Day.
Oh, Judgment Night. Sorry, it's Judgment Night.
It's going to be Arby's Day. Judgment Night. Which one was the one with those dudes who got lost in the bad part of town? Was Dennis Leary in that movie? Who was in that movie? Crap. Now I forget. I'm all over the place. You know what movie I'm talking about? Like in the 90s?
Yes, I do know what you're talking about.
A bunch of dorks get lost in it's the scary part of town. We can't find our way out of here. Thought it was Judgment something. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Maybe it is Judgment Night.
I don't know. Anyways, while you look that up.
He said, Dennis Leary, yeah.
Okay.
He's in Judgment Night. That's what you're thinking of.
What were you thinking of?
No, I thought it might have been the same one.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's got Emilio Estevez, Dennis Leary.
That's right.
Stephen Dorff, Jeremy Piven.
Dude, it's like everybody who was going to be huge in the 90s, but then kind of wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like Emilio Estevez is probably the biggest star out of all of them, right?
Well, Dennis Leary, I think, was pretty popular at that point.
He was really popular, but like I'm talking about in movies specifically.
Oh yeah, when did Leary do the Amanaso?
It was like 92. It was around then.
So,
yeah. But then Stephen Dorff was supposed to be huge.
Yeah, he was supposed to be huge. Yeah,
he just fizzled out. Yeah.
Man, look at all the pairings of alternative and indie rock stars with hip hop here on the soundtrack.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
It's got Pearl Jam and Cypress Hill
on a track together. Or are these all separate?
No,
what?
Together. Yeah,
they did a song together.
Yeah,
Pearl
Living
Jam
Colour
and Cypress Hill.
Yes, Slayer and Ice-T.
What's the name of the song?
Real Thing.
Slayer and Ice-T isn't surprising because Ice-T had his own foray.
Yeah, had Body Count. Yeah,
into metal. Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry. What was the name of the Pearl Jam Cypress Hill song?
Real Thing.
Holy shit! Is it a good song? Do you remember it?
I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've heard it. You got Mudhoney and Sir Mix-a-Lot, Sonic Youth, and Cypress Hill. Isn't
that crazy that in the 90s you could have like just a dog shit movie with like the worst premise and then it has like the most amazing soundtrack? That was the epitome. The 90s was all that.
Yeah,
that's all they would do.
Was great soundtracks, movies.
Wow.
Yep. So anyways, back to NXT. After that, we had a Grayson Waller interview, sit-down interview with Vic. Grayson says New Year's Evil was supposed to be the night I saved NXT. Bron has beaten everyone in his path, but he couldn't beat me. Bron was everything I thought he was going to be. Just as strong, just as athletic, and just as stupid. I knew exactly what Bron was going to do, and the reason I'm not champ has nothing to do with Bron. Had to do with the one thing that I couldn't control. The ring. He says, if the ring crew had done their job, I'd be NXT champion. And they're really making a thing about the counter, where he's going for his finish. Bron tried to counter with a spear. Waller hit the knee. They really made a huge thing about that during this interview and Bron's interview later on. So regarding that, Grayson says, I drove my knee into Bron's forehead, but give credit where it's due. Bron kicked out, but I always have a backup plan. I went up for the Waller elbow. Next thing I knew, though, I was hearing the ref count. I didn't know where I was, and then I lost by count out. But if anything, I feel like as much a champ as Bron does. In fact, I even brought my own championship. So you hear the rip of Velcro.
Yeah.
And he puts an NXT title over his shoulder. And then he's asked about the cage match. He says, most people wouldn't want to be stuck in a cage with Bron, but I'm not most people. Doesn't matter if the cage breaks. I'm pinning Bron. This is the most important event in NXT history. We're back on the road, and who better to drive the car than Grayson Waller?
Yeah, I like this. I thought this was actually really good. I don't know who's going to win at Vengeance Day, but no, I thought this is really good stuff.
I'll tell you, if you win at Vengeance Day, it's going to be Bron Breaker.
Yeah, Bron Breaker. I keep title till stand and deliver.
Yeah, Bron's going to win this because the reason I feel like the reason they're making such a huge deal about that knee, it was pretty much like, oh, Waller had an answer for Bron, but what's Bron's thing? He needs to learn how to be wrestler. Yeah. So next time he's going to counter the counter.
I'm going to counter it.
So instead of eating that knee, he's going to grab him for that swinging power slam thing he's going to do. Just watch.
Oh, there you go. All right. I like it. After that, we had a Gallas promo backstage. So we're going to remind Briggs and Jensen why everyone why it's called Gallas Boys on Talk. Hey, yeah. Then we had a Briggs and Jensen promo. What is this? Ain't no free ones, Gallas. These country boys about to raise them hell tonight. Oh, that's right, because they had a match coming up.
Yeah, they were just like walking towards, I'd assume, the ring area. They were just like kind of talking trash to each other, even though they're not in the same room.
Can't wait till we get to talk about how crappy a friend Fallon Henley is.
Woof.
Boy, she came off bad in this one.
Yeah. So before that, though, we're backstage, and Alba Fire has her bat held to a ref's throat. Yeah. And then Carter and Chance come, and they're like, hey, break it up, calm down.
Relax.
So eventually, Alba removes the bat from the ref's face and throat and says, oh, I don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. This isn't me. I don't know what's happening.
Ah.
And then Chance tells her, hey, you know what? Be patient. Your time will come. Because Alba's talking about, I can't win title matches. I keep losing. So Carter's like, be patient. Your time will come. It took us a long time to win these tag titles. And then Carter says, now we're the longest running tag champs, and there's no team that could beat us. And Alba's like, you know what? Alba Fire, tag champs, that sounds pretty good to me. Mm-hmm. And Carter says, whoa, we just saved your ass. You're going to come at us like that? And Chance says, we will take on anyone, but you don't even have a partner. And Alba just says, I don't need anyone.
Yeah. I mean, like, they didn't really save her ass. They just saved the ref's ass.
Yeah, no.
Like, Alba was fine. She was the one with the bat to the neck.
Yeah, she was the one that was the bat to the ref's throat.
All right, exactly. After that, we had a Tyler Bate video package. Oh, after a lot of time reflecting and getting my visa issue sorted, I'm coming back tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he even said tonight. That was kind of a surprise, huh?
Yeah, I don't remember. So then we had Briggs and Jensen versus Gallas. We got that kind of Wish.com version of Gallas' theme. Get used to it, I guess. We'll have to. So at one point during the match, Jensen gets backdropped on like the foot of the ramp.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And so Briggs is in the ring. He's going on to run against Mark Coffey. Mm-hmm. Fallon runs out to check on Jensen. Mm-hmm. So the trainers are checking on him and stuff. And then Kiana James runs out and is like, oh, Jensen, you okay? And then Fallon starts yelling at her.
Yeah.
And so they start arguing. Jensen's like, hey, trainers, get me up. I want to get back in the match. While this is all going on, Mark hits Briggs with a forearm, and then Gallas hits their finish to get the win.
That's right, yeah. After that, Duke Hudson hypes up Thea Hail for her match. He's like, hey, are you ready? She's like, yeah, I'm ready to throw up. And he's like, all right, that's good. I mean, it's good that you're ready. And he says, it's good to be nervous. That just means you want it. And then Chase steps in. He starts yelling. He's like, my phone's been blowing up. And then he puts a video on the TV of Duke talking to another student, saying Thea's match is a must-win for Chase U, and a loss wouldn't reflect well on him or anybody else. It's that anonymous NXT, voyeur. And Duke says, I don't know who was filming that. And Chase says, if you got something to say to me, say it to my face. And then Duke says, the conversation was taken completely out of context. Besides, we need to focus on Thea's match tonight and get her the win. And Chase is like, oh. And Thea's like, yeah, can you guys do this later? I really need your help out there.
So after that, we're in the trainer's room. Jensen's getting checked by the trainer. He's like, I'm good. I just got the wind knocked out of me. So Fallon steps in and says, why was Kiana out there?
Oh.
And Jensen says she was just checking in on me, make sure I was all right. I like her. She likes me. You're going to have to deal with it.
Right, yeah.
And then Fallon says, I don't have to deal with anything. And when she breaks your heart, I won't be there to help you pick up the pieces.
That is the most toxic shit. That is the most toxic bullshit. Luckily, later on, she comes over and says, I'm sorry. But, oh, my God, what gives you the right, lady? Like, if you like Jensen, then declare. Otherwise, be his friend.
Exactly.
My goodness gracious.
Exactly.
After everything, all the plots that he didn't concoct, but had intentions to concoct to help you with your dumb bar that nobody goes to, that you have to pump crowd noise into, make it seem like there's ghosts in there.
I know. And here's the thing, too. At least in terms of what we're seeing on TV, yes, Kiana, did she plot to try to get the bar from Fallon? Yes, can't deny that. But they had a match. Kiana lost the match. She held up her own end of the deal.
And then congratulated Fallon Henley on it. Said, hey, fair and square. And she was always upfront with her intentions. Like, she probably could have used whatever governmental levers at her disposal, like Yellowstone, to try to get that bar out of it. Have you watched Yellowstone?
I've been watching bits and pieces of it.
Lacey is obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And I'll walk in every once in a while. And this damn show, I swear to God, every time I walk in, people are talking about permits and zoning, or there's somebody out on a ranch, they find a dead animal and they freak out because it should have been somewhere else. Like, that's the entirety of the show. And there's a rude lady who's like the daughter of Kevin Costner's character. And she's always funny, rude or drunk.
Is all the times, that I have seen. But all the times I've stepped in while my wife is watching it, I haven't seen any talk of any permits, nor have I seen any dead animals.
What?
So
every time I walk, what do you experience when you walk in on it?
Right now it's murder plots.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't seen any. Every time I walk in, it's like Wes Bentley's character is talking with some politicians about something that had happened, and then and then just the other day I walk in and like, oh man, those wolves belong to the zoo over there, and we just killed them on the governor's property. It's like. It's weird. There's like another one. It's like, oh, these animals must have died from the water that these people are putting in, and the evil phone company putting in the cell tower. Yeah, you got to talk to the EPA about this. That evil EPA.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. The slant of the show is actually kind of hilarious to watch.
Where were we? Oh yeah, Valentina Feroz taking on Thea Hail. So down towards the finish, Elektra Lopez comes to ringside while Feroz has Thea in a headlock. So Thea is looking for a crucifix pin. Instead, Feroz reverses into a rope, gets a 2. Excuse me. Hale hits a couple moves and tries to get quick pins, but Feroz keeps kicking out. So they hit double cross bodies on each other. And then for some reason, Chase and Duke start arguing ringside. I think because Elektra Lopez kind of walked toward Duke. Mm-hmm. So the rest distracted by that. So Lopez goes over and slides in. Actually, she puts on, I think, some brass knuckles on Feroz's hand.
Yeah.
And Feroz gets up and looks at it. It's like, no, I don't want these. And then takes them off. And then Thea hits her with her finish to get the win.
Yeah, man. So if I walked in during your match and I slipped some brass knucks on your hands, would you use them?
Well, here's the problem, too, is that as soon as Feroz got up from that happening, the ref could see right there that she had brass knuckles on her hand.
Oh, yeah. You know what I'd do? I'd get some, I'd spray paint them your flesh tone. Uh-huh. So it wouldn't be obvious.
Well, I think it'd be pretty obvious to have some lumps on my knuckles.
No, not really. The ref has got a lot going on. They're obviously just distracted by the brass shiny.
Now, really what you do is you're like, oh, these aren't you take the brass knuckles and then you throw them in the corner or something like that. So the ref has to go and get them so they're out of play. So while the ref's distracted there, then you could take advantage of that situation to get yourself
kick him in the dick is what you're saying.
Something like that.
Yeah, I got you. I feel you. So after that, Mello and Trick are leaving the PC. Mello says, Cruz got his tonight, but it's cool. We're even now. Cruz steps up and says, those visions of yours didn't pan out. Mello says, you're bragging about a tag team match, acting like you won on your own. Cruz says, well, this calls for a celebration, but this really calls for a fresh cut. You guys know a good barber in town? And they're like, what? Doesn't even have hair. That's pretty funny.
It was pretty funny. And then commentary announces Jay Briscoe's passing. A classy move by NXT.
Absolutely.
And there was reports that they had a segment planned for the New Day and Pretty Deadly, that New Day was going to have a funeral for Pretty Deadly's tag team chances, and it's the right call to not do that segment as planned.
Yeah.
Given the news. So classy move by NXT here.
I think the news dropped during the live broadcast.
Yeah.
So to sort of pivot and do what they did instead, pretty impressive, and yeah, it's a classy move by NXT. After that, Elektra Lopez with Faraz in the locker room. She says, "Why didn't you take my help?" And Faraz says, "I don't cheat." And Lopez says, Faraz is another one. She's got such a great charisma, and I like her character, and I hope that she goes far. So Lopez is like, you fight to win, you fight for respect. She says, "Stop sulking over Sangha." She said, "I've stood with men before, and I realized in order to get what I want, I need to stand on my own, and I practice what I preach. So make sure to watch my match against Wendy Chu next week."
Then New Day come out for a promo. They say, "Hey, we're looking pretty good today because it's a very special occasion. Because today we are officially done with Pretty Deadly. But if we're not going to take on Pretty Deadly at Vengeance Day, who are we going against?" And that's when Kofi says that they will be taking on Gallas for the tag titles at Vengeance Day. So Pretty Deadly walk out to the ramp, say this
again.
Is
oh, by the way, sorry, not to interrupt. They had their theme changed too. Pretty Deadly.
Yes.
Yeah. Theirs wasn't that special, but still.
So Pretty Deadly walks the ramp, says, "Yeah, New Day, you're embarrassing yourselves, talking nonsense. Do you think this is funny?" And Wood says, "Of course, this is hilarious." And then Kofi says, "It's even funnier that you, Pretty Deadly, lost the gauntlet match." And Woods says, "If you gotten us everything on our list, you would have had your title match. If you just would have got us Ahmed Johnson's Legion of Doom shoulder pads, you'd be number one contenders."
That was pretty good.
Pretty Deadly says they've spent months jumping through hoops, and they're sick of it. "We know we're the rightful number one contenders to the tag titles." This brings out Gallas. They say, New Day are right. Pretty Deadly doesn't deserve a title shot. Pretty Deadly says Gallas wasn't even supposed to be in the gauntlet match. And Mark says everyone's chances of being tag champs are done because Gallas boys are back on top.
Talk.
And then Wood says, "William, first thing, no one understands what you just said. We can tell from the body language you want to fight. Well, we're ready when you are, but it's Pretty Deadly who attack first." New Day and Gallas fend them off, and then they start fighting each other. The rest come out to break it up.
That is right. After that, we had an interview with Roxanne and Lyra. Roxanne says, "We're bonded by a common enemy. Everybody knows since I walked in here, toxic attraction, trying to make my life miserable, and I'm not going to let that happen to Lyra." Lyra says, "I normally fly alone." Enough with the wing stuff, man. She says, "I normally fly alone, but Roxanne stood up for me, so I'm going to stand up for her." And Javier Barnell walks in with a guitar, and he's like, "You guys want to hear a song?" He's like, "Mackenzie, I've been looking for you all over the place." She's like, "I'm in the middle of an interview." And they're like, "No." He's like, Feliz Navidad is flying up the charts. You guys want to hear it?" And Roxanne's like, "No, I don't want to hear it." And Lyra's like, "Get out of here."
Yeah.
He's like, "All right, fine."
After
this next, we had Bron Breaker interview next. And sitting here watching this and watching Bron Breaker be like a normal person, in my opinion, has been the biggest ball drop of 2.0. Like and I've said this before, but like, man, let this guy go overboard on being a Steiner, because then you've got all sorts of buzz about him being, "Oh, my freaks are upset about what happened against Grayson Waller. I'm horny to get back in there though." Like have him go overboard on being like a Steiner as opposed to just being, he's just a normal dude who's just kind of boring. And I'm like, you have the ability to have this nutcase on your roster, this Steiner on your roster, and you're just letting him be like normal dude. I'm not into it, man. I don't like it, Larson.
Maybe Bron wants to redefine what the Steiner legacy is.
Normal, boring guy. Nah, man, he needs to redefine it as like just crazy nutcase, even going further than his uncle.
So
I learned everything I needed to learn about everything in life from my uncle.
Yeah.
My dad tried to calm me down, but I put him in a Steiner recliner. Showed him a thing or two.
There we go.
Yeah. Put him out there on the fishing boat, but he's like down there in the water, like grabbing fish with his mouth.
Yeah, he's like a bear catching fish with his hands. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be so much more entertaining. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, when's this guy coming to main roster?
Exactly. So then, so Bron says, I didn't want the match with Waller to end the way it did. I just want to get the bad taste out of my mouth. I wanted a definitive winner. I wanted to be the one standing over him as champion, but I didn't get that satisfaction. Again, they talk about the knee spot. And Bron says, yeah, he caught me with that knee. He was setting up for the spear, and I didn't see the knee coming. Took everything I had to kick out. And then I saw Waller go up for the elbow, the ropes break. What if he had hit that elbow? Would he have been new champion? I can't answer that, but all questions will be answered at Vengeance Day. He says he could be more excited about the cage match. There's nowhere to run and hide inside the cage. All the mind games stop because I know everything runs through Vengeance Day, and it's going to end with me in the middle of the ring being champ. And then Bron calls Waller the Chael Sonnen of NXT. He talks all the trash, but loses when the huge match happens. Says, but he won't be talking trash when I throw him against the cage. Shawn Michaels and the NXT universe want a definitive winner, and I'm going to give it to him, and I'll leave Vengeance Day as NXT champ.
I don't like any of it. You should be like, hey, I'm going to take his head off, put on my trophy case. Wow. Anyways, and then we had Javier Barnell versus Tyler Bate. Tyler
Bate.
And it's like, is that his theme? Whose theme is that?
If you're not really paying attention, it's almost close enough.
Yeah, right. So anyways, Javi has a guitar. He says, in celebration of my album hitting the top 40, although I'm not sure which top 40 that is.
Maybe top 40 NXT albums.
Oh, that could be. He says, how about I play a concert? He starts singing his Feliz Navidad song. Dude has a Christmas album in February. That's funny.
Yeah.
He's interrupted by Tyler Bate. And then they have match. Tyler wins for the Tyler driver over Javier Barnell.
Yeah. We're backstage. Chase U is celebrating Thea Hail's win. So they walk through the backstage area. They walk past Briggs and Jensen. Camera stops on them. Fallon steps in right as Briggs is trying to leave. Fallon tells him to stay. She says, sorry what I said earlier, Brooks. I just want the best for you, so I'm going to try to make this work. I even got a tag match for next week, and guess who my partner is? It's Kiana James. They coexist.
Now she's just trying too hard.
Yeah.
Now it's like you get your tag in with somebody who tried to take your bar. How about you just mind your business, let your friend do what he's going to do, and if he gets his heart broken, be there for him, to drown his sorrows in some beer,
And some free beer from your bar, yes.
It's some free beer and some
some
pub
peanuts,
mix. Some pretzels. Yeah, that's what I was looking for, pub mix. Some pretzels.
You get the pretzels and the nuts and the little...
Oh, man, some of that stuff's really good.
Little rye bread stuff.
Let me tell you something, man. My favorite bartenders have been the ones who just give me pub mix. There's a dude down at Jan's. His name is Chris. I don't even know if he works there anymore. It's been a while since I've been there. But, like, I'll get a beer, and then I don't have to ask for it or anything. Just a little cup of pub mix right there.
Mm-hmm.
Done.
Mm-hmm.
How great is that?
It's great.
It's
the seasoning they put in the pub mix that really kicks it up, It's not that they mix pretzels and nuts and like some little, like the rye bread little toast row they put in there.
Oh, I love those. Those are
it's
good.
Not just they toss that in a bowl and mix it all. No, there's some magic going on that seasoning they put on that stuff.
Hey, let me ask something, man.
What?
You ever have croutons just straight up?
Yeah.
Oh, man, they're so good.
They are good.
I don't even eat them in a salad. Just take a bag of croutons, eat them like they're chips.
Oh, snacks. Crouton snack. Hell yes.
Croutons are hella good, man.
Yeah, they are. And the thing, all they are is really dry bread.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Dry bread.
Like a shit ton of seasoning.
Yeah. It's just dry bread.
Oh, man. That's great.
Then we got our main event, Valkyria and Roxanne Perez taking on Toxic Attraction. So down towards the finish, Lyra goes up top looking for a senton, but then Cora Jade runs down the ringside, pulls Gigi out of the way. So JC tags in, Lyra tags in Roxanne, and then Lyra takes out Cora with the crossbody off the apron. They're brawling up the ramp, and backstage they go. So Roxanne's about to hit JC with a leg sweep. Gigi breaks it up with a kick. So Toxic Attraction's looking for their finish, but Perez ducks it. So JC ends up kicking Gigi right in the head.
Yeah.
Right in the head. So Perez takes out JC, hits Gigi with Pop Rocks to get the win.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. They started this match at literally like 7 o'clock. So
yeah, I know. It did get all that time.
Yeah.
You know what? Going back to the crouton talk, I'll tell you what. You know what my secret sauce for salads is at Trader Joe's? They have these pita crackers.
Okay.
And you take those and you break them up and put them in there for that crunch. Oh.
All right. That's good stuff. Yeah.
Get the whole grain pita crackers, and it's top notch, man.
You know, because Lacey gives me shit for eating croutons straight up sometimes, so I don't. Because I'm like, is this abnormal? Am I a weirdo for doing this? She's a weirdo, evidently.
This bread.
Yeah, right. I know. I'm like, what? Because the bag says I'm supposed to put on salad, I have to do that? No, man.
Steve, here's an idea. This is what you do. You go and you get a bowl and you buy a variety of croutons and you put them in the bowl. And guess what you have there? You have crouton salad.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's good. It's like a salad, but of croutons.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'll be like, it is a salad. And then she'll be like, we're getting a divorce.
Well,
I'm like,
I got a salad of croutons.
Lacey, if it's between you and croutons, I don't know. I got to think about that one. Croutons in the single life?
More time for croutons, Steve.
More time for croutons.
You could be laying there on your couch, no shirt on, bowl of croutons laying on your chest.
Right. Getting matted in my chest hair. Oh, how do I work this Tinder thing?
Likes croutons.
Oh, man. We have a question thread here on the Patreon, patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Nick Kyle, first up, says, favorite moment of Jay Briscoe's career you recommend the Friendos to see? Ladder War 2007. Go watch that. We're going to watch that on Smash Zone this week.
Good call.
It's a killer match.
Good call.
Dave Matushek says, considering that Jay Briscoe passed, will there be a special tribute show planned in the future similar to Brody Lee's? I don't know. We're not involved in the book.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be shocked not to have some wrestlers individually have some tributes to Jay though tonight.
Yeah, I would imagine we'll probably see that. Steve Klain says, my wife and I caught the match between Jay and Mark Briscoe on the first Jericho cruise during the Sea of Honor tournament. That match was amazing. Definitely going to miss him. Cameron says, you have to think Warner Bros. Discovery will let AEW do some kind of tribute tonight on air. Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, there'll be a video package probably. There'll be some sort of memorial for sure.
Yeah.
I would think.
Blake Whitehouse, which NXT wrestler would have the most success in Impact?
Josh Briggs.
That's a good answer. Why do you say that? But that's a really good answer.
He just seems like this isn't a slight. He just seems like he just fit right in with Impact. He's a good talker. He's a good in-ring worker. He's a guy that maybe isn't doing what he maybe should be doing in NXT, but I feel like an Impact, they'd give him a decent push right away.
You're 1,000% right, because if you watch any Evolve with Briggs, he is a completely different person. He ain't doing. I don't know where he's from. I can look it up really quick, but I kind of think that putting him in a tag team like this just is like not the way to go. Where is he from?
He played football at UMass, Massachusetts.
It doesn't say where he was born.
Yeah, but then also played in Arizona, so that's not helpful.
But dude, because I watched an Evolve from, I think it was the Mania year that you and I went. I think it was Orlando.
So according to Pro Wrestling Fandom, he's from Arizona.
Why does he have that goofy ass accent? Like, I get it. I understand they're supposed to be country boys, but it's like he's so clearly not. Like, I believe Jensen. I believe that. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I just sort of believe it. He portrays that accurately, I think, anyways, genuinely. But Briggs just comes off like he just seems like he's not. I mean, it feels like he might be having fun doing what he's doing, but it is completely underselling, I think, what he's capable of.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
But no, that's a really good answer. Let's see here. Alex Foster says, considering how goofy Tony D's gimmick is, How has he become one of the better developed characters in NXT? He actually feels more dimensional. It is true, and it's interesting to see.
It is, and especially the segment this week where we see some real warmth.
Mm-hmm,
seemingly some genuine warmth from Tony D'Angelo. I was not expecting that.
I wonder if the dude takes his shit seriously.
Could be.
Like he's bought into his character. It really isn't. It is silly, but it's not as over the top stupid as I thought it was going to be when we first saw, that promo. It's still the main problem with it is it's just this weird abstract idea of what is his business, what is, I know there's docs involved somehow.
Yeah.
So like
what exactly it is has always been very nebulous though.
Yeah, exactly. But that being said, he takes it very seriously, and he probably puts a lot of work into it. So
yeah, it seems that way. Tokane's asking, besides their series with FTR, what Briscoe matches would you recommend to watch? You mentioned Ladder Wars. Probably Jay's first title win, his match against Kevin Steen. I saw a lot of people were posting that.
Oh yeah.
And then another one. Who mentions this here in chat? Jay's cage match against Samoa Joe.
Okay. We'll have to check that out. Sam R says the Briscoes versus Guerrillas of Destiny ladder wars 2019. I think it might have been 2018 because I saw a promo on that the other day, and I think it was 2018. From Toronto, saw it live, so it holds a special place, but also the cage match. Yeah, mentions Jay versus Samoa.
And then
Joe.
Michael Davis here in YouTube chat mentions the cage match. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Very cool. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks everybody for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow for our AEW review. What's going on in AEW? What's on AEW tonight?
Let's see.
Do we have a preview for it? Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot like that.
Oh, just give me a moment. Here we go.
Yeah.
We have, once this loads, Darby versus Kushida. That's going to be really good.
Oh, shit. That is going to be good.
That's going to be really good. We got Young Bucks versus Top Flight. I'd be pretty surprised if the Young Bucks don't put in a few shout-outs to the Briscoes.
I would think so, yeah.
Orange Cassidy versus Jay Lethal for the All-Atlantic title.
That's a good one. Tony Storm versus Willow is going to be tonight, too.
That'll be
Somebody
great.
mentioned in the chat, yeah.
Danielson versus Bandito. Jake Hager versus Ricky Starks. And looks like you get an interview with Hangman.
Oh, that's cool. Sounds like a good episode of Dynamite today. All right, so we'll review that tomorrow. Same time, same channels. And thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate it. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.